This summer, unlock your potential with our summer workshop. Join our dynamic online courses, designed for everyone aged 13 to 75, starting June 1st through August 3rd with Mbwebe Ishangi of the Crypto Woke Financial Sustainability Movement. Dive into financial education for adults or gear up for success with financial education for student athletes. Teens and young adults can build their financial future, and everyone can explore the wonders of STEAM. For just $149.99, you get access and can invite 3 friends or family members to join you or choose their own course. That's for people for one low price. Workshops start June 1st and run through August 3rd. Sign up now and invest in your future. Discover the world of STEAM with Mbwebe Ishangi's engaging online course. From slave ships to steamships, STEAM stands for science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, fields that drive innovation and creativity. Perfect for families aged 13 to 75. This course brings these disciplines to life through history, hands-on projects, interactive lessons, and real-world applications. You'll explore robotics, coding, art integration, and more, all from the comfort of your home. Sign up today and reignite the creative genius inside for every generation. Visit CryptoWokeMovement.com for details.
Welcome to WTF, Ways to Freedom podcast show, where we explore all areas that bring freedom in state of mind, body, and spirit. Sit back, open your mind, and take a journey with your host, Mbwebe Ishangi.
Bless up, everyone. Bless. How's everyone doing? Good to see everyone. We are here yet again. We getting this momentum going, y'all. We are on episode 8, so it is a pleasure to be here again in this space with you all, to bring another headbanger. Hopefully, that is the mission, to have us talking about something that is going to be fruitful in our journey and staying on the path to ways to freedom. Hoping everyone is doing well today. This evening it is May 23rd, or Thursday, 2024, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I'm hoping everybody has had a great day, has had a great week. Tomorrow is the end of the work week for many. Hoping that you are looking forward to having a nice and relaxing, yet somewhat productive weekend that is coming up. As we are entering the last weekend, next week is the last weekend of the month. Damn, we went through May so quickly, going through this year so quickly, and that is that saying that the older you get, the faster time gets. And I mean, this is really, really real for me. I'm like, I can't believe how fast time is going. Anyway, good to see everyone as you come in. Please feel free to come. The chat is always open. They have been very active, which I love for each episode. I love the engagement. I love the fact that there are people out there that are wanting to have these kind of conversations, wanting to not only just listen, but also engage. So whether you are watching live or you're going to be watching in the future, comments are always open and welcome, be it pro or against, because this is the conversation that I think is needed to try to cover those 6 themes that I speak about in each episode. We're trying to cover at least one of those 6 areas, and that is finance, spirituality, health, history, STEAM, and philosophy. So, we try to each episode to cover something in those, covering at least one of those themes in every episode to, again, just have this conversation, because I don't think that we have enough. This is the reason why I created WTF, and no, not what the fuck, but ways to freedom, podcast show because it was something that I was looking for, online. And there, not to say I'm the only one, not at all, but in a way that I wanted to do it. I figured, as they say, if not you, who and if not now when. So it's really about thinking about, maybe I should go ahead and just give a whack at it. And here I am. So we are in our 8th episode. I see people chiming in, coming in, giving thanks. You could have been doing something else on a Thursday evening. So again, I'm appreciative, humbly, with gratitude. And as you do, the chat is open. Go ahead, and if you'd like to let us know where you're hailing from, where you're, coming through, what city you're residing, I appreciate that as well. As welcome. And also, when you come in, just go ahead and let me earn the like. Go ahead and hit that like, but I promise you I'll earn it. So give me a little bit of credit. You know what I mean? If we talk about finances, when people give you money up front, give me a little bit of currency credit and go ahead and hit that like button in the beginning. And it is my goal to earn that like. And if you are not a subscriber, I welcome you to join our channel. We put out information uh, every Tuesday through Thursday, and it is from 9 p.m. And so, we're looking to be consistent, putting out a lot of information, talking about a lot of different topics. As I mentioned about the 6 themes, they all are also circumventing the 10 areas of people activity that was created by Doctors Neely Fuller, Francis Cress Welsing, and a 10th one added by Brother Kidi Awadu. And those 10 areas, I say them every episode again so that you can get familiar, is economics, education, entertainment, health, labor law, politics, sex, religion, and war. So these areas are, if you want to understand how global white supremacy or dependency really is set up, it is set up through these 10 areas. This is the playbook. If you're talking about, if you're on a football team and they have the playbook for your plays you're going to run this week for this game, or and also plays on to any opposition. If you're on defense, they have a playbook and they study their opposition. So that's really what this is all about. It's studying your opposition and at the same time studying yourself, knowing yourself, so that you understand the powers that you have, the path that you've come from, so that you can pull back from that. That's that Sankofa we talk about, reaching back, going back to fetch so you know where you're going forward. Retrieve from those archives, that ancestral database of what we've come from, and then bring it into the present so that we can create the type of future that we envision and that we desire. So that's what, the whole preface of what WTF is about. Last night, we were talking, and it's funny because now that I got a couple of episodes under my belt, I'm starting to forget what I talked about last night, because after the episode is done, I'm on to the next. You know what I'm saying? So the last episode, and it's funny because I'm getting a brain fart right now about what we talked about yesterday. And it was just 24 hours ago. We had talked about the history of money and the two Americas. So, that to me is, one of those foundational pieces. If you want to understand the psychosis of the rat race, the whole money game, why we are all pretty much inundated, even if it, both consciously and subliminally, about chasing for that dollar, getting that bag. In that pursuit, not to say that you should not, but in that pursuit, we are missing everything else that's happening. We're forgetting to live. We're forgetting to take care of ourselves. We're forgetting to take care of our relationships. And so that's what tonight is also about. Tonight is going to be an extension of that, where we are going to be covering issues as far as health is concerned. And you'll notice that, again, every episode I'm talking about, it's going to be about finances. It's going to be about history, maybe about health, and maybe about history. And in that, there's going to be woven those pieces to make it relevant. Because if it's one thing that I realized, that the type of education that we have been accustomed to is getting, linear education. If you're in math, that's all you're getting is math. If you're in science, all you're getting is science. If you're, this space, not to say that it's a school or it's a classroom setting, but we like to talk about all those things because it's all those things that make the spoke in the wheel, that makes the wheel rotate. And that's where we come from, a collective, is that we studied multiple things. We didn't go to college for one degree. We had roughly 360 degrees, let's just say, to allow us to be more well-rounded and have better contributions to the lifestyles that we wanted to have. So yeah, tonight's topic is going to be the cheat code to losing weight and living healthier. Um, why I decided to do this topic, I felt, was because I look at um, well, number one, I look at myself as far as like, my health and what am I doing? I'm now 54, and the goal is to, you know, as they say, when you press that 50, your body starts to let go of things. They say even earlier than that, but when you hit 50, it's like, okay, they say life gets different. And they speak of the decline. Um, it looks like there's a freeze. Okay, so it's freezing just a little bit, but okay, we're back on. But they say that once you turn 50, that there's that somewhat of your body is deteriorating. Well, it's deteriorating from day one. Let's just say that. But as you get 50, it starts to become more noticeable. You might not be as active. You might have weight issues, which will then translate to joint issues from inflammation, which then can play on your psyche. It can make you feel like you're upset. You could be upset with yourself, wishing that you can move around like you used to, but you can't. And then when you try to, it may be a little too painful. So you don't really want to continually hurt, you don't want to further injure yourself. So you pull back. And then that creates this psychosis of, okay, now I have this guilt, I have this sorrow, and I need to feel good. So what am I going to do to make me feel good? I'm going to go ahead and have my guilty pleasure, right? And then that guilty pleasure is only adding on to the actual issues that you have. So I felt talking about uh, weight loss, talking about the importance of seeing how living healthier is actually should be the goal, especially as you get older. Um, because as you get older, as they say, once you get a certain age, it's harder to teach a dog new tricks. So the goal is to get us to, you know, I don't believe that I'm going to buy that into that wholeheartedly. Yes, there are some things, some old habits that are hard to get rid of, but when you get information, I think that's where you can start to cut through that so-called, saying that, yeah, you're too old to learn new things. I think we should be in the mindset of wanting to better ourselves, mainly because, we've worked so hard that retirement is not far for those that are in my age bracket, for those that are already retired, or for those that are even younger watching this, please take heed. For those elders that have sacrificed, 30, 40, 50 years almost to working for someone, and now they're retired. uh, you shouldn't be physically unable to go and enjoy the fruits of your labor, of all that work you've done, all that sacrifice. Unfortunately, the mentality is that retirement means you slow down, and that, yeah, you get to live off of your earnings, but you can't be as you can't go and live life the way you wanted to because you're too tired, or you may be a little too old. You can't go around and move around like you used to. I think that is the worst package that was sold to us of goods, and that's an atrocity, because it really does make you understand you sacrifice your greatest years trying to earn that dollar. So I want to talk about how we can get back to, and anyone, no matter what age you are, your body is a machine. One of the original machines, at least the modern machines that we know of. We talk about your computer or your car. When something is wrong with it, you go and take it to the shop and you go get it fixed. And when you get it fixed, it's working damn near brand new, right? Same scenario can be done with our bodies. We just have not applied that. So the application, or lack of, is basically because we don't have the information. We don't know how to. Because again, we've been told as you get older, you're supposed to slow down and all that kind of stuff. I believe, actually, not to say you got to speed up. You should basically be able to keep up, I would say. I ran track in college. No, I can't go out and run a 149, 147, 800 meters. No, absolutely not. I'd be out of my mind to think I could do that. However, I can get around the lap. I can run a mile. I should be able to do that without any pain. So, and I should be able to do that into my, 60s, 70s, and possibly 80s. Um, so again, it's just reversing the idea that as you get older, that you get slower. Your mind is sharp. Why can't your body? Right. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. Um, and just a couple things happening before we get into that. Today is the 23rd. Uh, 8 days from now, we're going to be starting my summer workshops. You saw the commercial in the beginning. If you are interested in have a great deal happening where you can, for 149, bring in yourself and three other friends or family members to take one of the 4 courses that we have. They are financial literacy for adults, financial education course for student athletes, and also students for youth, and also my STEAM course. And I did a STEAM presentation, an introduction to that on Tuesday. So if you want to go back and watch that one, you can get an idea of what we will be covering. But in this space, this is a great time for the summer. It's only 6 sessions. It's from June 1st to August 3rd. We're not meeting every weekend. It's every other weekend. And it's just roughly 90 minutes at the max, just getting this information and getting ourselves ready while we're doing stuff over the summer, so that it doesn't come fall, you'll be prepared to go in there with some strength. So if you are interested in that, feel free to go to the site. You can see that the ticker on the bottom. You can go to cryptowokemovement.com for details of the course. Sign up today. And also, think about bringing in your friends and family. All right. So let's get back into tonight's topic of, water. Tonight's topic of the cheat code to losing weight and living healthier. Now, when I wanted to get into this, I've always been a health nut. I think what really helped me was running track in college. You stayed in shape. I remember when we was in college, we would go to the union parties. I would still have energy for the union parties. And if anybody went to pit with me, they remember how crazy I'd be dancing around, when I wasn't a frat as well. I was a nut. I was always about partying, and, that's cardio. I was in African dance classes, doing stuff. So I was always that performer. I always loved I was energy. I was always about the energy and exerting that energy. So it stayed with me, the habit of staying healthy, of being active, being, having that cardio. And even when I got as high as in my weight the most weight I've ever put on, I weighed, when I came out of high school, I weighed 165. Again, running track, so I was, tall and thin. And in college, post running, the highest I've ever weighed was about 192, maybe 195. So I never cracked the 200. And kind of, and the mentality was I wanted to put on that weight because, you're supposed to be over 200 pounds. I'm 6'2", blah, blah, blah. But my lifestyle wouldn't allow it because, I would say I'm about 75% vegan and vegetarian. So I wasn't eating meat. I'm still not eating meat. I'm not eating, white dairy, white flour, pretty much try to be health conscious about what I'm putting in my body. I've been doing that since 1991 when I gave up everything cold turkey. So the lifestyle was already put in there earlier on. But once I cracked 50, or even in my mid 40s, I was realizing, hey, despite the fact of what you're doing, lifestyle, eating, and all that kind of stuff, is your internal system strong? Is it still, I wasn't having any issues. I'm not on any medications or anything like that. I go get my physicals, always get high ranking remarks and everything. And they're like, wow, what are you doing? Keep doing it, blah, blah, blah. So that was something that stuck with me, is that, okay, I must be doing something right, because I've seen examples both in my life, in my family, in my community, where men, when I think about when I looked at my uncles who were even 40, I thought that they were 60. And that was partly because they were working hard. They were definitely providing for their family, but they were working hard and didn't have time to take care of themselves. And a lot of them died before 65, or if not at 65. So my vision, or my example of what a 50-year-old was, totally jaded. I thought I'm going to be, overweight, wheezing for air, probably smoking cigarettes, and, all that type of stuff that we grew up on, right? And I know it's a different era, it wasn't as health conscious back then, in the 70s and 80s. I get that. However, that was the chart. And again, we talk about behaviors and how, most of us are brought up as sheeples, myself included. So sheeple is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just that you're going to follow the examples in front of you. You don't know what else to do unless you decide to break away from the herd, which I did at 21. But prior to that, I saw this is what's going to happen. And I've been a worrywart since second grade, when I was told that you're going to die in my class, my second grade teacher said, "Yeah, one day you're gonna die." And I'm like, "What? What? Wait, what? What do you mean we're gonna die?" And that you don't scare kids like that. You know what I'm saying? I rebelled. It was Miss Dixon's class. I had an issue with her telling me that one day my heart's gonna stop and I'm gonna die. Because I mean, that's scary. Who wants to die, right? So since that time, I had always been worried about dying, worried about, and I know it's transition, but I've been worried about dying. I've been worried about uh, pain. I've been haven't had wanted to have any type of pain. And I understood. Well, if you don't want to have these issues, then what can you do to be proactive? So that got my wheels turning earlier on about stuff. Now I went through my ordeals. I should be a diabetic because I ate a whole hell of a lot of candy when I was a kid. Whole hell of a lot of candy. I remember when my mom could give us uh, an allowance. I get $5. I take that $5, go down to the corner bodega, and I would buy 500 pieces of penny candy, and I would eat it all in that day. So, I mean, in high school and in my early years in college, my diet consisted of soda, chips, all the stuff that that was my fuel. And I had youth on my side, and I burned it all quickly because I was running track and I was training every day. So it didn't have an effect. I wasn't putting on those weights. But had I maintained that same eating lifestyle after running, I would have put on weight very quickly. Right? I realized that. But nevertheless, that got me into understanding the importance of, okay, I hear about the terminology of you are what you eat. What you put in your body is a reflection of how your performance is and all that kind of stuff. I drink water today like I drink it's Kool-Aid. Before I could not stand having water. I had to have some flavor, had to have some sugar, had to have a color, had to have some fizz. That was my thing back then. That was my main fuel. Not even realizing that your body is 75 to 77% water, that it needs water. But in my earlier years, it was soda and it was juice. So these are things that I'm sure a lot of us can relate to because we were told we were given the food pyramid. We were told these are the things you're supposed to eat. Not only that, this is what we saw. And in addition to that, we see that this is what the market or the system projected to us. We've seen the Sprite commercials of obey your thirst, and they use athletes. So of course you want to drink Gatorade because you saw LeBron drinking it, not realizing LeBron doesn't even drink that in real life. Or, not that Tom Brady would ever be a superlative or a hero of mine, but there's when he played football, he had a Gatorade bottle making you think you're drinking Gatorade, and he publicly said there was no Gatorade in that bottle. He had another supplement, but it was endorsements. So you're seeing the whole lie behind people saying, "Oh, this is what they drink to make them so powerful, to make them so the beast that they are in their playing field or their sport," and it's all a lie, right? This is to push pharmaceuticals are pushing false pretenses of what food is and passing it off as that, and then we're eating it, not realizing the ailments that we're having. We could see it in our families. We could see it, but didn't equate the menu to our health. When you go and get your physical, the doctor doesn't ask you, well, he asks you how you feeling, any pain, blah, blah, blah. I can't ever remember a doctor asking me, what do you eat? What does your diet consist of? You know, and maybe because I wasn't in that situation, but I can go out and venture and say that for those that are listening, you probably never had anyone, even if you have any weight issues, how many times I have the doctor ask you, what are you eating? And then if they did recommend something, is it something that is really fruitful for you, or is it from that damn food pyramid that has been causing damage to our communities? Right. So this is what got me to the path of saying, okay, now that I'm 50, getting up in age, what can I do to maintain? Because I don't want to just feel like I have to, like that I am a prison to, what's going to happen inevitably. Because everyone else gets older, they get bigger. That it's going to happen to me too. I was like, nah, that's not going to happen. I'm a rebel. I've been a rebel. I've been rebelling since I was a child. So that's what this is. Just in the same suit. So I'm going to go ahead. When I do my podcast, there is parts where I'm talking, and then there's also parts where I'm showing. So I actually put together a little piece for y'all to help things stick, because again, for me, it's about the information, and we are very, as much a visual people as we are orally. We can take things in audio wise, but we also visually things kind of stick too. So I'm going to speak about a couple things that got me there. Um, Starting out here, I want to focus on when we talk about again the 10 areas of people activity. I've said it, but now you can see it. So if you have not been able to capture all of the 10 areas, you can take a screenshot right now. Those are the 10 areas of people activity that again I speak about every class or every session, every episode. And I'm still in my teaching mode. Economics, education, entertainment, health, labor law, politics, religion, sex, and war. I forgot to put war on its own line, but it is what it is. Um, but with that said, I also want to quote to you. Uh, that you see two quotes there, and I think they're very, very profound. That must be read. That is actually Neely Fuller, one of the founders of the 10 areas. They were called 9, and again, Brother Kidi Awadu added 10, which the 10th one, which is health. But they originally called the 9 areas of people activity. So you might look that up and not see 10. You might find 9 areas of people activity online, but the 10th one was added a few years back. But Neely Fuller would always say that he wrote this book called The Compensatory Code. It's a long title, always just shortened to The Compensatory Code, and it talks about global white dependency and the makeup of it. And he says that if you don't understand white supremacy, racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Right? So when we talk about uh, global white dependency, which damn the episode we're going to be covering, because we are talking about who's been blocking, not only trying to get on our ways of freedom, but who's been blocking that, right? So when we talk about that, we're talking about there's a system, and that system is comprised of people and families that have put together something to keep us in this mindset. I always speak about that. But if you don't understand that, if you feel like this is something that is coincidental, or it's an isolated issue that it can't be a global effect to it. If you're unable to connect those dots, then you will remain confused about what's happening. And that is the goal here, is to get folks to understand that that is how they've confused you and made you feel like you're disempowered, because you will take it on as an individual topic. You're thinking it's only happening just to you, or just to your family, or just to your neighborhood, or et cetera, opposed to seeing the magnetic global effect that this has had for over a century. And then you pull, I want to pull from Art of War, which I think is so that to me is very profound when you think about the situations that we are in. Uh, if we were to ask ourselves, we were really take an assessment of who we are individually and as a collective, we can't even say we know ourselves, much less can we know our enemies, right? So, uh, we are, again, just existing. We're doing what we've been told adulting is, and you just follow suit. That is the sheeple mentality. We're not actually trying to, break away from the ranks, or the get out of line, so to speak, or cause any ruffles in the water, right? Because we just want to be peaceful. We just want to be left alone. We want to be under the radar. We don't want to be watching us. I get all that, right? That is primarily who we are. However, when you live that way, um, what it does is whatever atrocities that are done to you is going to be then now aired to your children, because you didn't do anything about it. And it'll be probably even, at a higher degree. And it gets worse through each generation. When someone doesn't deal with the issue, it festers into each generation. It gets worse and worse and worse. Right. So this is the reality that we're facing, is that, you know, it is a lot of work where people are like, I don't feel like doing all this, right? I gotta find out who this person, who my enemy is, and I gotta figure out who I am and all that, just to, to try to exist in the world for peace. Um, I understand that, and it's easy to check out because of that. But at the same time, most of us on a daily basis are complaining about the society we live in. So it really comes down to, are you going to be just that complainer, or are you actually going to do something about it? That is the question. And I choose to do something about it. If you like what you're hearing so far, give thanks for tuning in to the What the Fuck. I'm sorry, nope, Ways to Freedom podcast. Giving thanks for you for tuning in. If you would also like to, I'd appreciate and to give me a credit as far as go ahead and liking this episode. Go ahead and like it, subscribe to the channel. Even if you're on Facebook and you've liked it, go ahead and click that link to come over to to YouTube as well, because that like will help me build the channel here on YouTube and get more into other people's algorithms. And if you would also mind, do me a favor of subscribing. That would help me. It costs you nothing but one click. I'd appreciate it. All right. So let's continue on to what we got going here. So the next slide we're talking about. So let me ask you, is this you? Is this you? This is the average life cycle for adults. All right. Think about this scenario and think about this as I read this to you. Women and men sacrifice their health in order to make money. Then she or he sacrifices the money to recuperate their health because they make it sick, right? So they got to spend money. And then she or he is so anxious about the future, she or he does not enjoy the present moment because we're always trying to plan for something in the future that we're told is going to be there. If we work hard now, we'll be able to retire and have this bliss, right? Um, As a result, she or he does not live in the present or the future because the future is in the future. You can't live there yet. And because your mindset is focused there, you're not in the present, right? Um, so they live as if they're never going to die. I'm guilty of that. You never think about, could this be your day? Or what am I doing to attribute to me maintaining my health? I had a great day today. That's good. What do I need to do tomorrow to make sure that that contributes to my body to live another day? Like, we don't think about that. We just exist. Monday through Friday going to work. So weekends we chill. Monday through Friday going to work. So weekends we chill. And then it's 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Now we're 50, 60 years old. It's kind of how it's been for a lot of us, right? And then the last sentence is, and then he dies, having never truly lived. So that's a lot of us. I would say the well-massed majority of us are going through this lifestyle of consistently, trying to, and again, we're told this is what it is. We don't know any other way. And we think it is a righteous way. It is in many cases, because most of us are living lives where we are being responsible. We might have dependents, we have children, family. So we're doing stuff to take care of others as well as ourselves. And that's noble. And I'm not knocking any of that. But at the same time, there's other things that we could be doing to make us a little bit more prosper even better. But again, we're not open to those conversations because most of us come home and we're just dead tired from work. So my opening thought is, as I mentioned about the body being the machine, the most perfect machine that we would know of in the modern era. Let's think about the fact that every cell in your body is eavesdropping on your thoughts and actions. Okay. They're eavesdropping on your thoughts and actions. So when you say that you're okay, when someone says, how you doing? Oh, I'm okay. I'm good. Are you really? Like, your cells know, because your cells are behind the scene. Your cells are making up who you are, right? And that's what I'm saying. We got to give personas to all the things that are in us. Like, let's give some characteristics, some personalities to the things that help us become and help us be who we are as a body, and the functionality of it, right? So, not that you have to name your heart, give it a name or anything like that, but they exist, right? And they have personas, and so when I think about who I am and who I believe I am, my body reacts to that. So if I think I'm a loser, then guess what? My body's going to model and shape based upon that mental command that you're going to be a loser. If you're going to excel, if you're that person that's determined, no matter how hard things are, no matter how challenging they may be, but you are still determined, then your cells are going to, and the cells that make up your total body, your total, not just physical body, but your spiritual self, your mental self, the whole capacity of who you are as a being, it reacts to the commands and thoughts that you put through your mind and words that you say out of your mouth. So if we are not being if we're not believing what we're saying about ourselves, it's reflective internally, right? It's reflective internally. So that's the part that I think we kind of, and a lot of us don't tell people what's really going on with us because one, we're embarrassed. Two, you know, the person that's asking really probably doesn't want to know. Damn, I just want to say how you're doing. I know you had gout. I don't want to talk about that. So, we don't really want to disclose those things that are happening to us because it's personal, and there's some, you might feel a certain kind of way sharing yourself with that, right? But when you don't share things and you keep it to yourself, you can't find at least one person or persons to share these things with. It remains internalized, and it could fester, and it could become, carcinogenic. It could become cancerous, right? So when we greet each other and we do it well wishes and good health, um, these are struggles that we are with ourselves. Yeah, it's good to see a person and all that. I'm not saying that we're lying about that, but in our overall life, we know it's hard. It's hard to be Black people in this world. It's hard, and we're trying to keep an upper, keep your chin up, and and stay strong and determined and all that. It's to show your strength, and you never have a chance to just tap out and have a timeout, right? You got to continue to do that. Well, that tap out timeout is usually when you get home and you relax in after you've done your earned your coins for the day, right? But those wishes are limited the moment you consume processed foods, drinks, or smoke consisting of high sodium sugars, bleached and dairy laced dishes. So yeah, when we get together with people, yo, what's up? How you doing? I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Right. And then we turn around, we have a drink, or we turn around and we smoke hookah or whatever. And I'm not knocking people for doing these things. I'm just saying that there is a balance, right? And I think in most cases there's some imbalance, because if you think about it, if someone said a little bit of arsenic poisoning won't kill you, and so if you did a little bit of arsenic poisoning every day, it's going to accumulate, not over a week, but over years and over decades. And so now you're getting into your latter years and you're wondering why you're having these issues with your kidneys or your lungs, right? Because of those years of those micro doses of what you've been doing to try to, you know, uh, so-called tap out, or, you know, just live in the moment, right? So it's not just what you put in your body. The hidden destroyer is how you deal with the stress. So I'm not going to just talk about the foods. It isn't just the foods, it's the mentality. It starts really with your mindset and how you're able to deal with reality. We talked about this in my episode of why I think we all need financial therapy last week. Go ahead and review it, or see it for the first time if you haven't. Go back to the archives here on my channel. But stress to me, I love of acronyms, and stress to me breaks down to someone trying to repair every situation solo, right? Because we don't want to talk to anybody, we don't want help. We do want help, but we're afraid, we're embarrassed, so we keep these things internally and we fight it for us by ourselves, right? And so we find that finances and health are two of the strongest triggers, uh, and not realizing that the antidote to our health, finance is a big part of that. We don't talk about finances enough, or the lack of, which adds to our health issues. It's been studies that said that. When asked the name of the biggest concern facing POADAS families right now, and POADAS again stands for People of African Descent in the United States, no matter where you're from, if you don't want to say Africa, fine, but that's what they see us as, and that's what I see us as Black people. That 73% of people of African descent in the United States said the biggest concern is economic issues, money, the biggest concern, right? So if 3 out of 4 people are realizing that money is an issue to their overall well-being. That's an epidemic, and that's something that is going unaddressed. And I think that that's why financial therapy is so important. It's a vital part to it, right? So stress and finances increases heart risks for us almost exclusively. There's been studies that shows that Black people are affected by this the most out of all ethnicities in America. Black people are affected by the worry of no money or lack of money or less money than anybody else. So, it's bad enough that we got to deal with the stress of just being Black and living here, right? We got to deal with that. But then we got to tap on the fact that now we got to deal with money or the lack of, and how much this costs, or the increasing of, our goods and services when we're trying to just get something to put in our belly, or keep clothes on our back, right? This is what we are facing. So I think the cheat code of losing weight is living healthier, right? And we have to talk about what has caused that. I think the biggest culprit is the rat race. If you look at this, let me just blow it up just a little bit so you can see this cycle. If you are not in this cycle, I would love for you to put in the chat that you're not. I would love to hear you say that. But most of us have subscribed unknowingly, thinking this is what life is about, where you can see you work, pretty much you to learn to earn money, and then you pay that back with bills and debt, and then you are left with no money. So then what do? You got to go work to go get more money. It's that endless cycle of the rat race, right? So we end up working our entire life with nothing to show, but growing debt adds to the spiraling down cycle of health ailments that usually are shown in the resulting of high blood pressure. High blood pressure is synonymous with Black people. It's synonymous. Most people, if you find a Black person and they don't have it, and it's very few and far to find, right? If it's not that, it's diabetes. Okay. So this is just the reality. And this is our reaction to our experience here in America, right? And again, it's designed. So we work all day, mainly sitting. For those that are working for someone on a plantation, be it blue collar or corporate plantations, we work all day, mainly sitting or standing. Little to no exercise. A lot of us are sitting on our asses the entire work shift, and then your exercise might be to get up and go to the bathroom, right? We eat quick. Our lunch, we don't really go out to eat lunch, and if we do, or we might eat at our desk. We even eat dinners now. Like we don't really, really everything is quick and fast. If it's not fast food, in addition to that, right? So we eat fast food meals for lunch. We come home and eat again. Most time, food you desire that may not be the healthiest, and then we shut it down for the night, only to do the same thing again tomorrow. So this is that rat race cycle. This habit becomes weeks, months, and years of our adult life. All the while, the stresses of your job, coupled with the challenges of making ends meet in a world where the cost of living continually rises, exceeding your rate of pay, chips away at your core, your heart, your heart, right? The cost of living is ridiculous. We know these things. We're all experiencing these things, but we're not talking about it. So that's what tonight is about. Let's talk about it. So where do we turn for the resolution, right? And this is not a knock for any religious folk out there. But most of us, when we want to find that help or that assistance, we look externally. And so we are praying to God or someone to come and deliver, right? To find resolve, maintenance, and dealing with stress at the hands of the economy and racism, many of us turn to faith. However, there's a study. Again, we have to understand this. There's a study. So the Sun Tzu quote I mentioned, global white dependents know us and themselves. They study us and themselves. And they know that they are of no significance if they can't keep us in check. So they understand. They do studies all the time, about following the habits, or even putting us in a situation like, for instance, the Tuskegee experiment, and how, for 70 years they said, well, we're going to come in. There's an ailment in your community, and we're going to we have a solution for you. Imagine that coming out of nowhere saying, hey, your community has an ailment, it has a virus, and we've come up with not only we detected the virus, and we also have a solution or something that will resolve this issue. Mind you, you didn't have any issues, but you believe them. Unfortunately, they were able to convince the folks to take it. And so for 70 years, they were injected with syphilis, and they monitored how the body decayed over 70 years. Okay. So this is the same situation. They've done studies of this. So I'm not just saying this just to say it to go against anybody that's religious, but they understand the National Library of Medicine showed a sample of adult people of African descent in the community that are in faith-based religions and found that 64% of them have hypertension, 62% are obese, 40% have high cholesterol, and 23% have diabetes. Now, where do you get these numbers from? And why are they interested in getting these numbers? If the numbers are the way they like, then obviously they're going to continue to perpetuate this is the route we want you to go. Why? Because we want control. We don't want you to be out doing your own thing. We need you to do what we want you to do because that's how we feed ourselves. All right. So we go to have our faith-based communities and to try to become spiritual, maintain our spirituality, which again, there's no knock to that at all. But what I do have issues with is what we see that delivered during these spaces. We find the constant $5 chicken dinners that are happening. It looks like, oh shoot, come on, what's going on? Did I get taken offline? Okay, I'm sorry. There was a little bit of a blurb here. Okay, we're still good. All right. If someone could let me know in the chat that we are still good, you can hear me, I would appreciate it so I can continue. Someone could just comment, let me know that you hear me clearly and all is well. Last thing I want to do is be talking and y'all not hearing me. Can someone chime in to let me know? Okay, yes. Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right. So when we look at in religious faith and even and not just religion, I've had my share of why does this keep going out? My camera keeps going out. Okay, some of that says clear. Okay. So yeah, so there's a little bit of delay. I'm not sure why, but y'all just bear with me. These are things outside of my control, but we're still here for this. All right. So for those that are, even in my share of being attending, Black African-centered or organizations, going to rallies, meetings, talks and lectures and stuff, what would always get to me was when it came time, when the thing was over, it was the food they were serving. You know what I mean? Like collard greens with ham hocks and, the greens are strained, so there's no life in the green at all. They've been overcooked. Chicken dinners, and they say it's vegetarian, but they got dairy for the mac and cheese. We're just okay with that. We're okay with the food that we're going to put in our bodies, but we're asking for God or some entity, some spirit to deliver us something, deliver us out of our situations. But at the same time, we're poisoning our body. Right. So again, they've done studies to show that, okay, this is what we want. This is perfect. We want Black people to be in this space of, these certain methodologies. This is where the numbers are working in our favor. So I think that also the stress that is triggered, it magnifies internally as well as externally. A lot of us are, when you're stressed, you're upset, enraged, mad, whatever. You want to punch a wall, yell at somebody, whatever. But it also is doing work on your body internally. It's doing some work, right? We see here, because of the craving for help, or the arguments we may have over, lack of funding or whatever the relationship that comes with, in a relationship. Sometimes you have your arguments and how you deal with it. We are trying to break away. We are trying to have a moment of peace, of solace, to just kind of gather our thoughts and just kind of tap out for a moment. And most of those cases, those tap outs are the very things that are hurting our bodies. We're going to go and eat some ice cream, or we're going to go get a drink, or we're going to smoke some hookah, or some weed or whatever. And I'm again, don't knock me. I'm not trying to be out here trying to be, Captain Correct and telling you what you're doing is wrong. You should choose. You're an adult. You choose what's best for you. Personally, I'm very, I guess I'm a little anal about what I'm putting in my body, especially when I'm stressed out. The last thing I want to do is put something that's going to actually hurt it. I want to put something that's going to kind of build it up because that's the goal. I want to feel better, right? I want to feel better. And even though some of these things do make you momentarily feel better, is it doing damage to your body? That's the question, right? But again, that's not for me to answer. It's your choice. Um, so your health practices, I think they're rooted in a foreign systemic plan. And again, the history portion of it is that when you realize that it isn't something that was dreamed up and just happened, there were some folks that decided we want to get together and we wanted to mess people up, control them. So we're going to put together a system, and in this system, it's going to work in our favor. And one of the most, I would say, the overlords to a lot of the systemic plans that we see right now was put together, done by none other than the notorious John D. Rockefeller. Check this clip out.
Time that John D. Rockefeller seized U.S. media, he also hijacked U.S. medicine. When it was discovered that drugs could be produced from petroleum, America's top oil mogul ordered his army of propagandists to invert reality accordingly. Medicines used for thousands of years were suddenly classified as alternative, while the new, petroleum-based, highly addictive, and patentable drugs were declared the gold standard. After buying a German pharmaceutical company that manufactured chemicals of war for Adolf Hitler, Rockefeller leveraged his political influence by pressing Congress to declare natural healing modalities unscientific quackery. Rockefeller then took control of the American Medical Association and began offering massive grants to top medical schools under the mandate that only his approved curriculum be taught. Any mention of the healing powers of herbs, plants, and diet was erased from most medical textbooks. Doctors and professors who objected to Rockefeller's plan were crucified by the media, removed from the AMA, and stripped of their license to teach and practice medicine. Those who dared to speak out were arrested and jailed. When evidence began to emerge that petroleum-based medicines were causing cancer, Mr. Rockefeller founded the American Cancer Society, through which he suppressed that information.
Y'all see the craziness of this? How he comes off as the person that's going to create a solution. First of all, to create a solution, you got to first create the problem. So he creates the problem, right? You have petroleum, because John D. Rockefeller was the one that created the oil lines in America. If you know anything about the history of America, the industrial era, John D. Rockefeller used to be an enemy of Vanderbilt. Why am I forgetting his first name? But Vanderbilt. And so Vanderbilt was the owner of all of the railroads at one time. And so Vanderbilt decided he wanted to exploit Rockefeller with his distribution of oil out of Cleveland, Ohio. He wanted to basically make him pay higher because with him owning all of the railroads in Vanderbilt, if you want to ship anything to any metropolis, you need to go through the railroad system. So in order for Rockefeller to ship his oil, he needed to go through Vanderbilt, and he was trying to take advantage of that. And so what Rockefeller then did was he decided, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make an underground pipeline. So he basically created an oil pipeline out of Cleveland that hit a lot of the central and even eastern coast, and some reaches out to the western coast of America in this early development. This eliminated his need to need Vanderbilt's railroads. And so because of that, you're talking about now the oil and the offshoots of the oil being leaked underground, the soil, and into the waters. So we're talking about toxins. And one of the things that oil, one of the offshoots of oil is petroleum. And it's a toxin. So instead of ridding it and finding a way to do away with it because of the carcinogenic properties inside of petroleum. They marketed it as a new product. So now petroleum became part of, lighter fluid, even a Vaseline. If you look up Vaseline, it's primarily petroleum. A lot of us still putting Vaseline on our lips, and if it doesn't go through our lips, it goes in our mouth, because sometimes we'll lick our lips and it goes in our bodies. All these type of products. So he then finds the American Cancer Society and Association, American Cancer Association, and claims that, I'm going to address the petroleum issue. But what he actually did was he suppressed all doctors, homeopathic, holistic doctors that were out there finding residuals. So imagine, a Dr. Sebi, a Layla Africa, any of those physicians back in the 1900s, during his era, they were silenced or even murdered. Well, didn't that happen? Well, I don't know. I don't know if they were murdered, but they're not here, right? There's still that suppression of, health remedies, using it holistically. They'd rather you go to the pharmacy instead of the farm, where all of the nature's ailment, all of these solutions to the ailments are grown, right? So Rockefeller's behind that. He's behind all that, y'all. And I think it's important to point that out, because we don't know where the source is. And when you start to understand where the source is, then you start to see, okay, this is really systemic. This is really something that was put in place by a select few, and it's still rocking. It's still going today. It's still going today. And it falls in line with what Rockefeller said. He wanted to create a nation of thinkers. He did not want a nation of thinkers. He wanted a nation of workers. So he didn't want you to go out there and go in your backyard and pick your own herbs to deal with your cold. He wanted you to listen to that commercial that they put on TV that said, go here and get this cold remedy that's going to dry up, this antihistamine that's going to dry up your body, even though your body is making your nose run because it's getting the toxins out of the body. That's why your nose should run. That's why you should cough. And that's why you should spit, because your body's trying to say, get out of me. But when you take antihistamines, it dries that all up and keeps it inside the body, so the body can't get rid of it. Right? But we're thinking, because we see it on TV, that it must be right. Not understanding who are the people behind putting this information out. Okay. So that's the thing that, we have to understand, who are these people behind this. And this is when we start to realize, that this, again, is systemic. It's not directed towards you. You're going to hear me say this every episode that you tune in on. It is not directed at you specifically. It's directed at us collectively, and it has been through our bloodlines, and they will continue as long as we allow it, as long as you succumb to it, as long as you remain that sheep and would believe whatever they're showing you and never question what their real motive is. All right. The AMA, I said American Medical Association. He also he founded American Medical Association. And again, as he said, he suppressed anyone else out there writing it, made them actually in turn indoctrinate them with the other alternative, a la the four basic food groups, or the food pyramid. And we've seen the deterioration of the wealth and the health of American people. One of my partners had pointed out, if you ever travel abroad and you go to a place where there's a lot of Black people that come to it, if you go to a place where a lot of Black people reside, if you go to the Caribbean, you go to Africa, and it's said that you can tell of the people that are there who are from America, what Blacks are from America and who aren't. And how you can tell is because of their size. If you see that most Americans that travel abroad, they're obese, they're out of shape. Okay. So with that said, that means that, they have an American diet. They're eating a lot of sugar, a lot of sodium, very little water, very little exercise. So of course they're going to be out of shape. So when you see on social media people posting about where they're going and all that kind of stuff, that's great. I'm not knocking that at all. But look at the inhabitants that are there. Look at the tribe. Look at the locals that are there. And most of them are, not saying that they're, rock solid in shape, but they're not obese. Obesity is not a huge thing mainly because they don't have the type of they're not being shipped the same goods or so-called goods. The foods that are in their diet are more natural. They're not getting shipped Kellogg's and Kraft and all the stuff that we see in our supermarkets, the Doritos and Cheetos and Coca-Cola. Not to say that it's not there, but it's not there in abundance as it is here. There's not a Chick-fil-A, and there may be one now, but I don't know. I haven't been to Jamaica in a while, but you're not seeing McDonald's and Arby's and Wendy's and stuff in these spaces. And when you do, you start to see an uptick even in the community's deterioration of health. You see that. It's a clear indication that these foods that people are eating from the American diet are killing you. Right? But again, it tastes too good. So we're not gonna do anything about it until we're sick, and then we're wishing that we could have done something about it. Right? So as a financial therapist, I understand enabling one to become financially literate is not enough. Health is most vital, because without health, you won't be around to enjoy the health. You won't be around to enjoy the wealth. Health actually is wealth. Wealth, WLL hyphen T parentheses TH, literally. But wealth can't be enjoyed without your health. So, for those that are on that money hunt, not knocking you, but make sure that you also on that health hunt so that you can enjoy it. Like, yeah, get as much money as you can, but at the same time, take care of yourself. So once you've attained it, then you can be there to actually experience all that labor that you've done. Right? Sister Kidder says they eat fresh fruits and vegetables, not a bunch of processed foods. Exactly. Processed foods is the enemy, mainly because it's loaded with a lot of sodium. If they have anything that has food for shelf life, I'm not saying don't ever eat processed foods, because if there's ever an issue where there's a food shortage, you're gonna wish you had some canned goods. But you should implement fresh foods while you can, and if you can't buy them, grow them while we can. Right. So the cheat code to losing weight and living healthy is heart disease is the number one killer with strokes, and as a leading cause for us, we have the highest cases of heart disease. And it also develops in us earlier in life, because life be life. And I mean, it isn't just what you eat, it's also what you experience. And, we experience racism, disparity, stress triggers, trauma, dating back to enslavement that is in our genetics. We have all these different things that we're still trying to battle while still keeping a smile on our face, while still trying to go and party and just try to just escape and get away. Right. But stress manifests as hypertension, which increases your risk of heart disease and stroke and can cause permanent damage to the heart before you even notice any symptoms. That's why it is often referred to as the silent killer. It just shows up. Well, it didn't really just show up. It was at its last moment. And it's funny because we'll say this person had a heart attack. Like, your heart attacked you. You've been attacking your heart all this time, giving it what it doesn't need. And so the heart just gave up. But we don't see it as that, right? The other thing is that some of us will say, well, I'm gonna die anyway, right? Or I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna live this life. I'm gonna eat this. I'm gonna smoke this. I'm gonna do that because you know what? Life is short, and I'm gonna die anyway, right? You say that, it's good to say that when you're in no pain, but imagine when you're in pain, you're gonna be regretting what you said. The other piece is that when we think about the whole concept of dying and it's over, is how about thinking about your body? You have a right to transition peacefully. You don't have to go out in pain and in hospice and, fighting for your last breath. I'm under the concept of that, right? The body doesn't have to slowly and painfully shut down. And to be frank, you can't be overweight with high blood pressure and diabetes and expect a peaceful transition. A lot of us wish we could just go away peacefully and quietly, right? Well, if you're not taking care of yourself, you're probably gonna go out kind of violent, right? If you want to go out pleasantly, train your body so it can. Ailments like heart attacks is really the heart couldn't take anymore. But this isn't about death. It's about a life-preserving, forgotten secret, unbeknownst to the masses, mainly because we've forgotten the ways of our ancestors who knew the body is self-healing. All you need to do is give it what it needs. So we're talking about autophagy, right? Autophagy. So let me ask you this question. How many miles would it take to lose 5 pounds? How many miles do you think you need to run to lose 5 pounds? Obviously, the answer is right there. but it said that in the, brethren, Heru Forata shared this with me, and this is stuck with me. So the question is, how many miles do you need to run to lose just 5 pounds? The answer is 81 miles. 81 miles. A lot of us haven't even run 81 feet. So you're talking about 81 miles to lose 5 pounds, right? But you don't have to do that to lose the 5 pounds. And usually when we lose 5 pounds, was people get married, or there's a dance you want to go to, a graduation, or whatever, some big event. You hear women talking, I lose 5 pounds and I'm in the gym, blah, 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 and it's hard to lose it, whatever, right? Or they'll stop eating, and which is good, but for how long, or they don't have a strategy behind it, but they're trying to lose 5 pounds. But Brother Heru said that, why do that when you can lose those same pounds and more with a 3-day water fast? 3-day water fast. Fasting is the quickest way to lose weight. And get this, it's free. It costs you nothing but time and sacrifice. You don't have to go to the doctor and get some pill that's going to create some other issue. You simply discipline yourself to drink water for 3 days and no food, and your body's going to go through a transition. So let me just play a couple clips here that gives you an idea of what water fasting and autophagy is. All right, 1 second here. Here we go. If you're looking to better your health by rebooting your entire immune and digestive system on a cellular level, fasting is the easiest and inexpensive way to go. It basically consists of having nothing but water, meaning no food, for 72 to 96 hours, or 3 to 4 days. So we work our bodies overtime, giving it little time to rest and repair. Digesting food demands the most. And if you're eating 3 meals a day, most likely your body spends 21 hours of it digesting what you eat, leaving just 3 to 4 hours to rest and repair. This type of habit done over decades is the root cause of many ailments folks have, like hypertension, obesity, high cholesterol levels, acid toxicity, and inflammation, as well as numerous cellular cancers. Your body can repair itself if you give it what it needs. Quarterly fasting is a solution. In addition, this should also be about rising to the challenge of bettering yourself. Here's a few more tips you can do. Drink room temperature water with a little lime if you wish. Burn sage, Palo Santo, or incense. Be around plants. Play good music. Allow the body to rest, and most importantly, learn about autophagy. For an overview of the benefits of autophagy, which enables you to reboot and rebuild your immune system naturally, hit me up or read this piece. So what are your thoughts on fasting? You down to try it or not? Bless.
Dr. Mark Testa here. In today's video, I want to talk about autophagy and why you should care. Now, I share health and wellness tips like this on a regular basis. If you want to receive more of those, please subscribe to the YouTube channel below. But let's get into autophagy. Auto, right? You see the word auto in there. That means self. Phagy, eat. Basically, the body is eating itself. Now, that doesn't sound like a good thing, right? But actually it is. And it's a bit of a process to get to a level of autophagy. Now, what autophagy is good for is consuming and eating old cells, dying cells, senescent cells that aren't really working well, that aren't healthy, that are actually sending out signals to healthy cells that they're not healthy, and for lack of a better word, scaring those cells into not being healthy. So we all have these sort of old, weak, dead, dying cells in our body, and they need to be cleaned out. And this was discovered, I think, in 2016, won the Nobel Prize. And autophagy, you can get into an autophagy by fasting, right? It seems that we need to be in a fasted state for about 48 hours before our body goes into autophagy. And what it's doing is it's looking for fuel for itself. And it knows that these cells are weak, dead, dying, and useless to the organism. So our white blood cells start to consume them, right? Think of Pac-Man. And it consumes them for energy. But the secondary benefit is that it's cleaning house. It's getting rid of those old, weak, dead, dying, useless cells. And it's revitalizing your body. Now, when we go back to eating after a 48-hour period of not eating, or longer, up to maybe 4 or 5 days, and I would recommend you work with somebody if you're going to do that, the body knows it needs to rebuild itself. It knows it's consumed all these weak, dead, dying cells, and so it's going to mount a stem cell boost out of the bone marrow and in the blood, and it's going to increase stem cells to help go repair and rebuild those cells. Now, remember, it takes about 48 hours to get into autophagy. I would stick with that a little bit longer, another 12 to 24 hours, just for the good house cleaning, and then break the fast with a good vegetarian meal for several days. And give the body healthy fuel to rebuild itself. So this is the breakdown and renewal of the body that's automatically and always happening. We're just giving it a little bit of a push in the right direction, or encouraging it to be a little more proactive at cleaning out these weak, dead, dying cells. So I hope.
Okay, and here's one last one.
Fasting, or nutrition in general, you may have come across the word autophagy. But what is it exactly? Autophagy, a mysterious word with a pretty interesting meaning. The word autophagy, translated from ancient Greek autophagos, means to devour oneself. And in fact, that's exactly what happens during autophagy. Our cells start to process themselves. Old cell components and so-called misfolded proteins are recycled during this phase and can be reused. The cells are completely renewed. Our bodies do a major deep clean, so to speak, and tidy everything up. The result? More efficient cells that can improve our life quality and extend our life expectancy. Those who'd like to benefit from this are recommended to use the 16-8 intermittent fasting method. For example, the autophagy process starts around 16 hours of fasting.
So think about this, y'all. As I mentioned, and it's really when you really think about your body being a machine, it really is, because all this stuff is being done automatically. Am I telling when I eat something, do I have to tell my stomach to digest the food? Do I have to tell my stomach, hey, take this part, keep that one, use the others, waste? Do I have to do these things? Are being done automatically. So, the enzymes in my saliva, as soon as I put something in my mouth, it starts to break the food down. Even if you are swallowing large foods, these enzymes go to work immediately, try to break it down so that it can be digested easier. So again, it's easy for me to personify our internal organs as actual workers, because we're kind of workers, right? We're worker bees. We're actually going out and working and maintaining infrastructure. Well, those same worker bees are inside us maintaining our infrastructure. We're the corporation, the body, right? So if you think about that, I think it's really deep how we take for granted that these things are done automatically. And we need to really think about, Sister Kitchen said, I stopped eating meat and lost 17 pounds over a year. Exactly, right? So, and a lot of us eat meat for protein, but protein is also, you think about what is the animal eating that got protein from? They got it from greens. So the best source for protein is in greens, not in meat. But I love to talk about, and I use STEAM as that example, science, technology, engineering, and math, arts and math, is that our bodies know what to do. If you give it what it needs, it will do what it needs to do. Right now, it is working with what you give it. So if you are having, swollen joints, if you are having, which leads to not only physical ailments, it leads to a psychological ailment. If you're depressed, health is connected to that. You may have some health issues. You may have some blockages. So the body is able to, when you give it what it needs. The thing with autophagy, which is beautiful, is that it will use this time when you don't put anything in your body. It's going to use this time now to find whatever's left. It's going to scavenge for whatever's around here. And it's going to be those old decaying cells that, were left over, that, didn't have a lot of fuel in it, but it's going to consume it. And in consuming it, the white blood cells are consuming it. What it's doing is actually cleaning out your body. Imagine that. I mean, you take your car to get an oil change. right? You get all the liquids, the fuel, all of the liquids in your car, not just your oil, but your antifreeze and all that stuff. You get all those things changed in your car periodically because you want your car to run at maximum, right? Because you know that car break down, you know it's going to cost you. So a lot of us put more care into our car than our own body, which is a vehicle itself. But if you did just the same thing as you do for your car, getting those regular tune-ups, and would tune your own body up, doing quarterly 3-day water fasting, that alone would help you regulate weight loss. There'll be so many other issues that you could curtail as far as getting out of your system and creating a better living lifestyle. But again, I just want to point out how interesting it is that we have forgotten how magnificent a machine our body is. Brother Gerard said, bless up. I give thanks for introducing this new concept I have never heard of before tonight. Yes, I bless up. You are definitely welcome. That is my goal. So, when you think about, instead of just going to the gym and pumping iron or getting on these, I forgot what they call these different diets where you're eating, was it paleo? I forgot what it's called. They have all these different new diets that they want you to eat. Some are just, leaner meats but it's still high in sodium. Like they have all these foods that you're eating, but we're going to talk about how eating is really the reason why a lot of the ailments are there, right? I'm gonna get into that in a second. But again, I just have to emphasize the marvel of the body. It is an amazing invention. Whatever architects are behind the creation of that pretty much thought of everything and understood that even though you might be in bad health right now or decaying health right now, you can totally reverse it simply by starving your body for 3 days. Starving. Now, again, that's a mentality because we think, oh, I can't go a day without my 3 meals. I need my 3 meals every day. Ask me to miss one and I'm having a problem. I'm hangry. You know what I mean? But if you're talking about longevity, if you're talking about prosperity, if you want to have a better outlook on life, psychologically, spiritually, mentally, this is a way to go. All right. So, as I said, autophagy, auto means self, phagy means eat. So the body's self-eating. And it's your body's process of reusing old and damaged cell parts. So it's recycling. Aren't we in a recycling age now? Right? We're talking about recyclables. Your body's been recycling all along, and it can do that. It will do that if you stop putting in these new impurities in your body. A clean sweep, if you will. Cells are the basic building blocks of every tissue and organ in your body. Remember, I mentioned how the cells are listening and eavesdropping to all your thoughts. So what you feed your cells is what your cells will produce, right? Imagine that corporation. The corporation is going to be as successful as its workers. If the workers aren't working well, the corporation is going to go under. If it's the opposite, it'll prosper. So each cell contains multiple parts that keep it functioning. Over time, these parts can become defective or stop working, resulting in physical damages, perhaps irreparable, even prematurely fatal. Okay, so yeah, there's cancers in us, there's bad things in us. They do go bad. The question is, how do you get those things out of you, right? So I want to pull up this chart here because this really talks about what happens when you the first 48 hours, 72 hours, 48 hours when you because the video talked about autophagy sets in after the 48th hour. So this is what happens in your body once you start going through the first 48 hours, right? And again, you might have to take a screenshot to blow this up. I can't blow up any bigger, but I'm going to read it to you, right? So the first 48 hours. So if you skip breakfast and you got up and you didn't eat till lunch, right? Imagine that. Your blood sugars fall, and all food has left the stomach, and insulin is no longer being produced. Insulin, and I would urge you to look up Brother Hirul for Ati. He really goes into it. I'm not going to even act like I can. I'm not there at that point yet. I'm still learning to be able to speak about insulin, how your body creates its own insulin, and we give it, the foods that we eat gives us too much insulin, which causes diabetes, right? So your body has certain levels, and when it spills over, it causes issues. So that's 48 hours, 4 to 8 hours. The 12th hour of having not eaten and just drinking water, Food consumed has been burned from the previous night. It takes about 8 hours for food, a meal to digest, and the digestive system goes to sleep because it's not no work done. There's no food to be, breaking down, so it's going to go to sleep. Body begins healing process. Human growth hormones begin to increase, and glucagon is released to balance blood sugars. So imagine giving your digestive system a break. We'll talk about that in a second. But your car engine, imagine not driving your car for a little bit and letting it just rest. That's what that happens when your digestive system, there's no food to digest, it shuts down. Okay, we ain't got to do no work to do. So let me just now repair. Because I'm not working, I can rest. 16th hour, body is revamping up, fat burning. So it's starting to burn fat because there's, now it needs fuel from somewhere because there's no food in there. So where am I going to get my fuel from? I'm going to get it from the fat reserves that are usually on the sides of your hips, and your thigh area and even your buttocks area. It's going to start pulling out, from there. 18th hour, human growth hormones start to skyrocket. So you're starting to get stronger, muscle development. You're starting to lose muscle. You're starting to lose the fat, and muscle mass is starting to protrude out. Not to say you're going to have this this metamorphosis within that time, but if you keep doing it over time, you'll see this happening. By the 24th hour, autophagy begins, drains all glycogen stores. Ketones are released into the bloodstream. These are the warriors that go out there and try to clean up all of the cancerous cells that are the dead cells that are there, right? 36-hour autophagy is at an increase of 300%. So it starts to really kick in, right? The 48th hour autophagy increases 30% more and immune system resets, and regeneration increased reduction in inflammatory response. 72nd hour autophagy maxes out and it plateaus. So what are we talking about here? The immune system is something that I don't think we pay enough attention to. Our immune system is what's allowing us to remain healthy. Okay, if you ever get a cold, it's because your immune system is weakened. So it needs something, it's fighting because if you look at it like a battle, it sent all the red and white blood cells out there to go and fight this enemy that's bringing in this virus that's making me sick. So you get that feeling in your throat, and you didn't do one of the old remedies, which is whenever you get that feeling in your throat, that cold, that itchy feeling, go ahead and cut up some fresh garlic and ginger in small pieces and start eating it. It'll kick out the mucus. Dr. Sebi talks about the number one cause for ailments is mucus. We're eating a lot of mucus-causing foods, cheese, dairy, meats that are, creamy. Those type of things are causing mucus, and the mucus is what's going to attract these viruses and bacteria, right? So what happens here is, the body is going through this metamorphosis of, constantly trying to fight what's coming into the body every day. If it's not the food you're eating, it's the air you're breathing, because there's toxins all throughout the air. And so our body's always trying to fight to keep your immune system at its optimum. But it can only do that if you give it what it needs to do that. If you're giving it less than quality foods, then the quality of its ability to fight gets degraded. So, it can't fight a heavyweight champion fight if it's 120 pounds because you haven't given it what it needs to be that over 200 pounds to fight, right? So, me and my analogies. But the point is that we need to think about the type of foods that we're giving ourselves has everything to do with our immune system and our ability to fight off germs. Why is it that when the fall comes, everybody's getting a cold? It isn't just because the cold is going around because I don't get colds. It's because my immune system can fight it off. It's also because people are going to get these flu shots, because that's weakening your system. We're not even going to get into the jab. But that has another thing that is we're seeing now reports of how the immune system has been compromised. Now we have data that's showing that the immune systems have been compromised if you took that jab. But there's still remedies to try to fight and rebuild up your immune system. So all is not lost. So here's the next slide I want to talk about here is, an even bigger breakdown if you have certain goals of where you're trying to be. So when we look at the color lines here, right? Blue is for the blood glucose, for your insulin, for any of us that are diabetic and you're trying to lower your insulin levels. This is what autophagy does in a, what is this period? This is a up to 5 days, but we're going to stop at around 3 or 4 days. So autophagy and human growth hormones is the red dot, the red line. Weight loss and ketones, that is the yellow. Intestinal stem cells, that is your body's ability to, again, a sustainable component to your body's ability to be able to get rid of waste. Intestinal stem cells, that's green. And immune reboot and musculoskeletal stem cells is another thing that, again, is the infrastructure of your body. It maintains your body, right? So that's purple. So when you look at this, and again, you may have to blow it up, but I'm gonna, kind of break it down for you. In the first 1 day, in the bottom arrow, you see there's 1 day, then you'll see 2 days in purple, 3 days in red, 4 days in green, and 5 days if you will go 5 days. I haven't gone 5 days before, but I know people that have gone even 7. I'm good at 3 or 4, mainly because I also do a lot of intermittent fasting, and we'll talk about that in a second. But here we go. So if you want to, most people will fast because they want, or most people want to address their weight loss. They want to lose weight. So in order to lose weight, if you were to do a 3-day water fast, we're going to see at what point does the weight fasting principle kick in. All right. So if you follow the yellow line there, you see around day 2 is when we're going to see an upswing, or actually a day and a half. That's roughly around, I'd say the 34th hour. Around the 34th hour, you start to see a spike. From the 30th hour to the 35th hour, you're going to see a spike in weight loss. You're going to start losing, not saying 5-10 pounds, but you're going to start losing ounces. All right. And then by day 2, it's a little bit higher. It isn't until day 3 that we start to see that it's going to plateau. And then it does one last push on day 4. And it shoots up to a max on day 5. So if you were going to go 5 days, around the 5th day is probably the most safest day, or you would want to go as far as that. I don't know how much pounds you weigh or you would lose, depends on the person, but you're seeing, based upon this trend of where your weight loss kicks in, it starts to really kick in after 3 days. After the 3rd day, you're going to start to see that just start to shoot up. A lot more weight's going to be lost. When we look at, I'm not going to do all of them, but if you look at, let's just look at blood and glucose, insulin, the blue, right? So we talked about insulin and diabetes and how the body can produce its own insulin, but when you eat certain foods, it adds sugar because there's a lot of sugar in the foods that we're eating. Like, people don't know that, russet potatoes, those brown potatoes that we eat, are laced with sugar. It has a lot of sugar, especially if you put them in the refrigerator. When you put them in the refrigerator, the sugar accumulates, and then you bake it, and then you eat it, and that white potato goes into your system, and it shoots up your insulin, right? So a lot of us that maybe are diabetic, and you don't understand why your blood pressure goes up so quickly after eating a baked potato, it's because of the sugars that are in it. Your body is having too much. So what happens, you want to lower your insulin levels. So we're starting to see here that on day 1, the insulin levels at its high at the top. It starts to drop after the first 5 or 10 hours. Then we start to see another steep decline after around the 15th hour into the 20th hour. So we're starting to see this a slow up and down happening. And it isn't until the 4th day that we see that it plateaus at its lowest. So if you're looking to lower your insulin levels, it isn't so much about taking the insulin shots, one, because you're dependent on that. And there's other things in there, we're not even going to talk about that. But if you do the research, you know that there's something in there and you're dependent on it. You can get rid of those insulin shots simply by changing your diet. Again, you rewire your body to do certain things. It will actually, respond. So when you do that, your body's going to, your insulin levels will come lower. All right. So let's do one more here, autophagy, which is the main one here, the red line. When you see the red line, you see in the beginning, the red line, the first 10 hours, it doesn't really do anything until like the 30th hour. So, that's a day and 6 hours in that you start to see that it is slowly climbing up. And that's because, again, after the 16th hour, if you haven't eaten anything in 16 hours, the body has already digested its last meal. So there's no more food for it to digest. So now the cells are going to go search elsewhere to find something because it needs fuel. So now it's starting to find it's looking and searching for these old decayed cells, and it's going to start consuming, which is cleaning your body. So we start to see that day 2, we start to see shortly after the day and a half, we start to see that it steadily starts to incline. And it isn't until like day 3 that we see that it climaxes at day 3, where we've gotten our highest form of autophagy, meaning by day 3, your body has been pretty much scraped clean. Your internal intestines and organs have been cleaned out of pretty much all of the cancerous cells. So your immune system is being rebooted. Like how you turn your computer off, you put a virus on there, virus protector, and you reboot it and turn it back on, it's refreshed anew. That's what your body's going through. You've gotten rid of all of the bad things that are in there because it's been eaten up. It's been washed out from the water. The water is what's flushing everything out of you. You're peeing it out. So now your system is rebooted. Now you don't go into McDonald's to celebrate your, coming out of your fast. You don't go to eat some trash. You introduce live foods for the first couple of days, and light foods as well. So you might have a salad, you might have some soups, you might definitely have some fruits or some smoothies. Don't go and have a steak. Don't go and have a burger. Don't go and have, these heavy foods, because your body hasn't had something for 3 days. So it needs to be able to adjust. And if you put these as its first forms of food, then you didn't put the enemy back into your body. It's not to say you can't ever eat these things, but you want to get a front line of defense. So if you eat some live foods, then your body's going to have a front line of defense of healthier cells. So that when you do go back to, if you do, eating McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, or whatever, that you at least have, it's behind the front line. And so that front line can kind of fight that until you do your next fast. And again, the fast is not something that, you do once. I would beckon that you do it several times, because, and I'm not saying back to back to back to back. What I'm saying is, what I do mine is I mark mine on to the equinox and the solstice. So we have the summer solstice coming up in June. So every 90 days, I'm looking to do a 3-day water fast. Now, because I've been doing a lot of intermittent fasting, most cases my fast doesn't have to be 3 days, because right now I've been eating roughly once a day, maybe twice. I've lost, not that I needed to lose weight, but as a result, I lost a lot of body fat. I'm back down to my college weight. And my love handles are gone. My 8-pack, I got an 8-pack, y'all. Oh no, it's a 6-pack. But the point is that this is allowed me to get back to and yeah, I do work out and do speed rope and all that kind of stuff, but it's giving me my energy, it's giving me my vitality. And like I said, I'm 54 and I'm like, I'm gonna be doing this for the rest of my life. That I don't see this changing, right? So it allows you to have a better outside, how you feel about yourself. Again, your cells are eavesdropping on that. So if you feel good about yourself, then obviously your body's going to respond and it continue to make you feel good. This is what it's all about, y'all. No one can stop you. When we talk about global white dependency and all that stuff, yeah, those are things maybe outside of our hands, but you are in control of what you put between your gums. That battle can be won by you and only you. So when you decide what you want to put in your body, what you don't want to put in your body, that is when you'll be at a point where you're, that's one of the greatest victories you could ever have, I would say, right? So getting back here, where was I? Yeah. And I, it's funny because I talk about how, if you remember the game Pac-Man, Pac-Man was eating, the dots and whatever, right? And the ghosts were after him or whatever. I would look at the Pac-Man as, eating in regards to autophagy. I would say that Pac-Man is eating the old cells, and maybe those ghosts are some of the more exclusive or damaging proteins that that are trying to kill him. And so once he eats a power or eats a power cell or like a dead cell, that gives him this more energy, or maybe a living cell actually, that he's able to eat those ghosts. But nevertheless, the analogy is terrible. But the point is that if you can play Pac-Man and think about how it's eating all these things, imagine when you're in your autophagy, when you're going through your water fast, that's what's happening. that the white blood cells are going in there and they're cleaning up, eating up all those dots or those old cells, and enabling you to regenerate your body. Right. So, what is autophagy? What are the benefits? It reduces inflammation. It promotes fat loss, fat burning hormones. It's called I keep messing this word up. Norepinephrine. Um, it gives you brain power, new brain cells, protects nervous systems and cells. It's an anti-aging component because the nutrients are recycled and it removes the toxins. It promotes muscle growth through HGH, the human growth hormones, which is y'all, somatotropin increases. Doing this live, y'all. It's crazy. Cancer prevention. It slows DNA damage, inflammation, and genome stability. Right. So yeah, I have trouble with some of these words. Sister Me says that I also have started fasting 1 full day a week in addition to intermittent fasting and fasting every solstice. You really can't do any better healing practices than fasting. It's number one, 100%. And this is the one thing they want to keep from us. They don't want us to notice. They don't talk about fasting in our communities. And we shouldn't have to wait for them to tell us anyway. We should be doing this diligence. That's why we're talking about it tonight. So you don't have to have some white person in the lab close to tell you, oh, yeah, fasting is good for you. Do your own diligence. You've been exposed to it tonight, right? So in order for the body to continue to perform, it needs adequate incremental times of recharge and rest. Best done when sleeping. However, even sleep, our bodies are not always at rest. Your body is most at rest when it is not processing food, right? So that's the issue. The body's primary engine is the heart and the digestive system. The heart pumps blood filled with nutrients throughout. And these nutrients come mainly from foods broken down in our digestive system, right? So we have to understand the connection. Our bodies, the problem is that we eat too much. We've been told to eat three meals a day. And we eat those 3 meals a day anywhere between the windows of 7 and 9 p.m. So you eat 3 meals between, in the 12-hour window, roughly 12 to 14-hour window. The problem is each meal takes 8 hours roughly to digest. So let's look at it like this. Let's use an analogy of you at work and you're a desk clerk and you're sitting there and you have on your desk, you have a file. Someone drops file. As soon as you show up to work, you have this file of work that you gotta go through this file and get those completed, right? And the start of the day. So right around lunchtime, you've gotten half of it done. And then someone comes in with another stack and they add it on top of that stack, right? So now you got more to do. Didn't finish the earlier stuff you got. Now you got more stuff to do, right? So then you spend the rest of the afternoon trying to knock that down, probably halfway. And then right before the end of the day, they come and put a whole nother stack on you. So now you got a stack higher than what you started because at the beginning of the day, because in the beginning of the day, you had this stock, you took it down halfway. Then lunchtime, they put another stack that came up this higher. You got that down a little halfway. Then at the end of the day, they bring a whole nother stack, so it's now even higher. So what happens? That spills over to the next day. So what is happening here? We are basically under a clock where, let me just hit these points before I go into the breakdown of that. I need to do that because I want to make sure I'm not leaving anything out. Everything in here is vitally important. So it takes 8 hours to digest one meal. For a significant amount of time after eating, the stomach is at work breaking down what you just ate. Causes inflammation because it's working overtime, working harder, or the heating up of the body. Body becomes red and swollen, hot, and eventually painful. Stomach aches, acid reflux, ulcers are the byproducts. And excessive daily use of prolonged inflammation can lead to disease or dis-ease, where the body is not in balance. Okay, so this is what we are experiencing on a daily basis. This is that clock I want to show you. So this might be you, and understand how this affects you. So a lot of us will get up and we'll eat breakfast anywhere between 7 and 9 a.m. Don't have to be a large breakfast, but we'll eat breakfast. And so if we've had a significant amount of food, it's going to take roughly anywhere between 4 to 8 hours to digest. So if it takes up to 8 hours, by the time lunchtime comes, you're going to eat again, but it hasn't fully stopped digesting what it ate for breakfast. So imagine, use the analogy of your digestive system with your car engine. So you're driving, okay? So you're driving for a full day. So now you've eaten lunch, and it's going to take another 8 hours to digest the lunch, but it's still processing the breakfast food that it ate too. So it's doing breakfast, but now it got coming down the chow line is going to be lunch. So by the time we get home to have dinner around 7, 8 o'clock, maybe 9 o'clock, the body is probably just getting done or towards the end of digesting the lunch it had. So now you're going to eat again. It's going to take another 8 hours to digest dinner. So from 8 o'clock to roughly, what is that, 2 in the morning? What is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, to roughly 2 in the morning, or I'm sorry, 4 in the morning if it's 8 hours. It's going to take another 8 hours to digest the dinner. So that means your digestive system is going to be able to clock out from digesting food for the day, started at 7 a.m., stops working at 4 a.m. the next day. So that is roughly 21 hours that the digestive system has been working to digest your food. All right. That's a hard day's work. 21 hours out of 24 hours, your food, your system is trying to process food. So now you have 3 hours to rest. The digestive system is sitting there for just 3 hours to not have to process any food. Then you get right up, you do it again. Do the same scenario. For the next 21 hours, there's going to be 3 meals, and then the digestive system has to break this down. So the point is that you might think, oh, that's nothing. That's mundane. It's, it's a work week or whatever. We know we couldn't work 21 hours out of 24 hours, right? We would get extremely tired, right? We know we couldn't do that, not even for 2 days. But imagine doing this for a month, a year, your lifetime. A lot of us have been eating 3 meals a day our entire lifetime. So what does that mean? That means that our digestive system has been working 21 hours a day our entire lifetime for decades. And when it is digesting food, it is overheating. It's working. So your body is inflamed. So we wonder why we have issues around our bodies and our joints, in our ulcers and things of that nature, is because the digestive system never gets a chance to rest. And when it rests, that's when it repairs. So it doesn't make sense. There's out of alignment. There's no balance, that the body isn't able to repair because it's being overworked. So what are we doing? We are killing ourselves unknowingly. Yes, it's breaking the body down. So again, this is why we see our elders. When I saw my elders, when I was in my 10 years old, and I saw my uncles that were 30 and 40, and looked 50 and 60, because their bodies, first of all, their center area, the equator of their body was getting wider and wider, because your body is going to condense. And so, because the fat goes into the center of the body, and it's decaying, it's breaking down. So they had these ailments. So they're going to have high blood pressure. They're going to have, their blood is going to be thick because they're not drinking enough water. So it's going to cause strokes. It's going to cause other ailments in their bodies, because it's always working and it never gets a chance to repair. This is the psychosis, the eating psychosis, that Rockefeller and party have put us to have 3 meals a day, the food pyramid, and make you feel like if you ain't ate 3 days, oh, you can't go a day without eating a meal. You can't go a day without eating 3 meals. And we are mentally, we programmed ourselves to feel like we get hangry if I miss a meal. Right? But if you do 3-day water fasting, you'll learn that your body is capable of going easily 3 days. It's a mental thing. When I first started fasting, I had to convince myself, because I had this craving. You start to have this craving because you used to putting something, in your stomach. So you're like, man, I've gone all day. I had nothing to eat. I need to eat something, because you're conditioned to think that your body's actually going to be telling you. It's going to be sitting in there growling. Your stomach growling is actually the parasites that are in your body saying, feed me. It's not your body that's saying, feed me. It's the parasites, the worms that are in your body that are saying, hey, where the food at? You're supposed to have fed us by now. So we're going to growl, and then you're going to think it as, yeah, I need to put something in there, and we'll just put something in there. instead of going beyond that. Your body can still perform. And then when you realize that your body is actually growing, your body is actually cleaning itself, then you're going to be happy with the fact that, okay, I'm going to starve these parasites. I want to get these worms out of my body, so I'm going to starve them. And then the water's going to wash them out. Who wants to have worms? I mean, we all do. But those worms can turn into cancerous if you allow them to get longer and strong. They can get longer. So the food you're feeding them is feeding them. They're eating it first, not your body. So you want to starve those things out of your body. You want to wash them out. That's why the 3-day water fast, especially if you do it quarterly in the minimum, allows your body to be totally cleaned out. You get all those worms out of your body, and then you can start anew. But again, this is something that is not shared with us. You're not going to go to school and learn anything about health. They're not going to teach you this, because you need to be part of the system where we want you to eventually be in the hospital so that we can drain your insurance account and make money. Right? And then when we've exhausted all of your insurance, then we're going to kick you out because somebody else needs in the bed. How many hospitals have you gone to where there's nobody in the bed? If the hospital doesn't have people in the bed, they're not profitable. So they make their money from people being sick. You have to be sick. It's not, oh, this is a place if you get sick. No, we need you to get sick so we can have money, so we can keep this thing open. That's a business. A business needs to make profit. Look at a hospital as a business. It's not a place to go there and get cured. It's a place for them to make money off of you. And when they're done with you, kick you out, bring somebody else in, and the next seller they can bring in. All right. Have to understand, we have to switch the way we see things. So within 24 hours, there is no 8-hour window where your body isn't hard at work digesting foods eaten throughout the day. Your, yes, Sister Paris, sickness equals high return on investment. Exactly. Big Pharma makes money off of sickness, y'all. If everybody was healthy, there'd be no doctors. And there weren't doctors before. The hospital administration is a modern invention. Again, Rockefeller's behind that, right? So you basically are just 3 hours. You basically have just 3 hours of the body cooling down, reducing inflammation, and with rest, the body is able to begin repair. How much repair can be done on an inflamed body that is hard at work 21 hours a day, every day, for decades? This is you driving that car indefinitely, not worrying about it breaking down until it does. If you keep driving your car and you never change the oil, it's going to break down. If you don't put gas in it, it's going to break down, right? So you can buy a new car, but can you buy a new body? Can't do that, right? Sister Ami says, parasites are smart. They absolutely do not want to leave. They excrete toxins that causes us so much distress, but keeps them comfortable and thriving. Exactly. Sister Kitchen says, when's your next fast? We should all do it together. Yeah, I'm doing it for the summer solstice. And we'll talk about it. The first day of summer is what? June, like 20th to 24th or 18th, anywhere between 18th and 21st. We got to look it up. But I'll be doing a 3-day water fast, and I would love to do it together. Absolutely. Helps keep us all accountable. But Gerard said, the body and the immune system is amazing. It's astounding that it carries us into the latter years in life. I'm 54 and fast and detox several times a year, for sure. For sure. And we all should be doing that. We all should not, whether you eat meat or not, you should still fast, because it gives your body a break from eating all of that. And if you want to go back to that drinking and eating and all that kind of stuff, that's fine. But at least you're giving your body some rest from all of the impurities you're putting in your body to prolong your life and the quality of it, right? So ending this with a healthy lifestyle is as much what you eat as it is how often you eat. So it isn't just about, I eat fruits and vegetables. It's also how often are you eating. Now, you don't have to be like me and eating once a day. I'm extreme. But, you can still eat your 3 times a day, but I would still think about increasing your water usage. I would think about doing the water fast, 3-day water fast, because it is advantageous to replenish your immune system in your body. Intermittent fasting is something that is an offspring of a top of 3-day water fasting. Instead of going 3 days or up to 72 to 96 hours of not eating any food, you eat maybe once a day, or you'll eat anywhere between, separate meals anywhere between 12 to 18 hours in between. Because again, you want to give your body, when you eat something, it takes 8 hours to break that food down. And then once it's done working, you want to let it rest. When you get off work, you want to rest, right? So why don't we do the same thing for our digestive system? Let's give it some hours. So when I eat once a day, if I eat at 1 o'clock, for instance, and I'm done at 8, it's done digesting at 8, I have until from 9 until the next day of 1 p.m., which is what? 9, that's 3, that's wait a minute, I'm sorry, 9. Look at me doing real time math, right? So 9 p.m., midnight, 12. That's going to be 14 hours of rest that my body gets to go through and repair. When your body's resting, it is repairing. And when it's repairing, it's prolonging. All right. So that is something that you might want to consider intermittent fasting if you want to go through the first, 3 days or whatever. And when you do attempt it, I would say try to do it, and try to go at least 24 hours. Try to go to, if you've never done anything, if you've never gone a day without eating food, try the first day. Then once you get to the first day, then say, okay, well, let me try the next 6 hours. And then let me try again the next 6 hours. And then now you're at a day and a half. And the next thing you know, see if you can go to another 12 hours, then you got 2 days. And then you're already there. So just go another 24. It is a mental thing, right? Done 3 to 4 times a year, fast, kill abnormal and precancerous cells, enabling the body to renew your entire immune system, and is a hidden gem in creating full and healthy lives. All right. So there's a question here by Sister Cassie. Is it true your first meal should be at noon, and the true meaning of breaking a fast? Yeah, I think so. You know, yeah, they say breakfast is breaking your fast, and then the first thing in the morning. There's a practice of them saying that you should eat during your last meal should be, your biggest meal should be at the highest point of the day around lunchtime. That should be your biggest meal. But oftentimes our dinner is the biggest meal. So we go to bed with a fuller stomach with higher calories and things of that nature. And then we sleep that off. So that actually adds to the weight because a lot of it's highly insulated based because insulin based because we have a lot of sugars and salts and sodiums in the foods that we're eating. So when you're sleeping, it's all adding to that waistband of fat that's around our bodies. So that it is, if you can change the way you eat, I would say eat your biggest meal around the highest point of the day, which is noon, 1 o'clock. That's when the sun is at its highest point. And if you can skip breakfast or just drink water or tea, or they say one of the best things you could do is have lemon and ginger warm water in the morning. That is going to boost your immune system. It's going to break up any mucus in your system. And it's also going to give yourself a jolt in regards to the first thing of the day. You don't want to start your day eating, white flour and creams and cream cheese and coffee with caffeine and jolting your body into getting it to move, because it's like a high. So you're gonna get a pick me up, but then you're gonna come back down crashing. And there's one thing I want to mention too, for those of us that are working in corporate America. You ever wonder why coffee is free at work? Coffee and water is free at work. All the other juices and stuff cost, right? But coffee is always free at work. Why is coffee free at work? Well, because coffee is the one thing that gives you a jolt. A lot of us drink coffee because we're having a crash. I'm getting tired. I need to get a pick me up, right? So you drink the coffee and that increases production. They understand if you at work going to sleep, ain't work getting done. So we need to offer you free coffee and tell you coffee break. So you go get your coffee, drink it. In the morning, you come in, drink coffee because you're tired, right? Then come lunchtime, you about to, crash, but you got lunch coming. So you might have coffee with your lunch or not. But then what? An hour or two after you eat lunch, because you ate something that is high in sodium, sugars, and calories, that is, you get the ritis, right? Where you want to take a nap, you go get a coffee. So you can finish the day. You might have 2 coffees by the end of the day. So most people are drinking 3 cups of coffee in a work day if they're on site. And it's put there strategically to keep you, as Sister Paris says, productivity. It's all about making sure that you will stay working. All right. Again, nothing is done by coincidence, especially if it's systemic, if it's everywhere, then someone has devised a reason for doing this and it's effective. So we need to understand that. And I look at everything and I analyze, why is that? And then I find out what it is. Oh, I see. That's what it's all about. Right. So yeah, that's what I got for y'all tonight. I hope that you will consider. I hope you learned about the body, um, the magnificent marvel that it is, and when you give it what it needs, it will respond as such. If you continue to give it what it doesn't need, it will also do that in turn. A lot of the things in our lives that we're having, no matter what things, extremities that we can't control, what you can control is your mind state, your state of mind, and your mental, physical, spiritual states, right? So no matter how things are challenging in the world, it really starts on how you can endure it and let some things just rub right off for you, right? So you have any struggles, you have any personal, spiritual, financial, relationships, any struggles. Um, if you are also having a poor diet, if you are not allowing the body to rest and not just in sleep, but the internal organs to stop digesting food, you're only going to compound those stress levels. And stress is that silent killer. And we are the prime candidate for early exiting, for early transition. So we're playing into that game. So I would definitely suggest thinking about, and when you do uh, water fasting, autophagy sits in, you will see your body respond. You will see the weight loss. It will trigger you to want to do it again. You might consider doing intermittent fasting. You might consider, you know what, let me not have coffee. Let me have a fruit smoothie or something. Let me drink something that is healthy. Let me have a salad, like some greens with some arugula, things of that nature that are very good for me. Let me take some bitters. Let me drink some tea, if not coffee. Let me put something good in my body so that I can get the good that I want out of it, right? We have these high expectations, but we don't match it with how we're feeding it. So I challenge you to uh, adopt some of these things you learned tonight. I hope that you actually learn something. I hope that it sticks with you. If this is the purpose of video, you can come back and review it. I hope that you consider this worthy, a part of your mental arsenal, and you may share it with your friends and family. And stay tuned with what we do here. This is what WTF is all about. So I'm gonna go ahead and get ready and shut down here. I got to do my last uh, closing here, and then we're gonna close out. So just 1 second.
This summer, unlock your potential with our summer workshop. Join our dynamic online courses, designed for everyone aged 13 to 75, starting June 1st through August 3rd with Mbwe Ishangi of the Crypto Woke Financial Sustainability Movement. Dive into financial education for adults or gear up for success with financial education for student athletes. Teens and young adults can build their financial future, and everyone can explore the wonders of STEAM. For just $149.99, you get access and can invite 3 friends or family members to join you or choose their own course. That's for people for one low price. Workshops start June 1st and run through August 3rd. Sign up now and invest in your future.
So yes, giving thanks to everyone for tuning in tonight. I really appreciate you spending time with me. Always appreciative, deep gratitude to your time. If you found tonight's episode was helpful, there's several things you can do. Number one is like the video. You can also share it. If you are not a subscriber on YouTube, please come over to YouTube and subscribe to my channel. We're trying to get to 500 so we can get to that point. We can start having a greater reach, helping the algorithm, and also share with your friends and family. And the third thing is, if you want to consider to learn more, taking my summer workshop class, I welcome it. Again, for the price of one, you can bring in yourself plus 3 other people, and we're going to have a ball with teaching finance education for adults, student athletes, and also youth. In addition to my STEAM course, so you can choose any of those. If you bring one person, if you bring 3 people in addition with you, you can take the class together, or they can choose one of the other 3 on their own. So with that said, next week we're gonna have. I'm not gonna put out the information yet because I'm still working on what the schedule's gonna be, but it's gonna be hopefully a level higher each week. We're trying to get higher and higher. It only happens when because of your engagement. I appreciate each and every one of you who have tuned in tonight. I appreciate the chat was on fire. I appreciate the responses and engagement. That warms my heart because it lets me know that I'm not just talking to myself. You know, the goal is, again, for us to each one reach many. So I wish you all a great weekend. Feel free to, again, support. If you want to send a monetary contribution, I welcome it wholeheartedly with humility. It could be in any dollar amount through Cash App. Give thanks, Sister Kidra, for the monetary donation. Appreciate you. It could be $1, $5, 20, 50, whatever you want to send, if you want to. And if not, even still, just a like or a share or a subscribe is currency as well. So I give thanks for everyone again for tuning in. And I look forward to seeing you next week. And we're going to keep this ball rolling. Asheo. Bless.